This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, his sidekick, John DiNallo. And let's see, our motto is weird, funny. Okay, tell me what our motto is.
But real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's it.
Right.
Hey,
It is beautiful.
after all these years, we need to write it down. We need to write it down. That's it. Or get
Right.
t-shirts. Maybe that's what we should do. Get t-shirts made. Hey, everybody, if you're looking for something that's real news, sometimes strange, always funny, you're in the right place, because that's the motto of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. I am your host, Paul Seaburn. Thank you for joining us today. If you're joining us live, of course, that means it's 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time on a Tuesday. That's our regular day. Beautiful day in Cleveland, Ohio, where we're at, the Northeast Ohio area. The first voice you heard in your ear was Karen Hale, who is our producer, our co-host, and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, which is our platform. Go there, find out how to download us on Spotify and Apple and all those great places, and also on YouTube, because with our great weird stories, we sometimes have some photos. Those of you who listen to us, don't worry, we explain all the stories, you get all the jokes, but once in a while, there's some weird photos that you just have to see. So when you're done listening, at your leisure, look us up on YouTube and check them out. So Karen is also the head of Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, which is our sponsor. If you need any kind of coaching help, by all means, find that as well on newclevelandradio.net.
And not lacrosse coaching. I don't coach lacrosse.
We mentioned our favorite indoor lacrosse team, the Panther City lacrosse team in Dallas, Texas, and somehow some wires got crossed somewhere, and I'm the one who does all the talking, way too much talking. I must have implied that she was a lacrosse coach. So Karen will be leaving us next week and joining the International Lacrosse League as a coach, because it pays far better than what we pay her. No, I'm just kidding. The other voice, I don't know. I don't think you've heard his voice in your ear yet, but you will in just a second, and that would be John DiNallo, the host of What in the World of Sport. He's also our co-host, our color commentator, my old friend. Hey, John, how are you doing today?
Hey, Paul, I'm doing great. And Karen, I'm doing well, and looking forward to a great show. It's also some very good weather in Cleveland today. So for people in Northeast Ohio, prior to some rain coming, from what I understand, it's really a beautiful day outside.
Absolutely.
Yes, we'll all be staying in tonight because the Cavaliers are playing the Boston Celtics tonight in the first game of the playoffs. So if you're any kind of Cleveland sports fan, and everybody in Cleveland is a sports fan of some sort, you'll be indoors or at the you can't if we're playing in Boston. They'll be watching the game tonight. So don't worry, we'll be done in plenty of time. You can get to the you can get to your TV. Okay, so what in the world is our theme is real news, sometimes strange, always funny. I get a lot of this stuff from my job as the editor and writer at not New Cleveland Radio, mysteriousuniverse.org. So check out my stories on mysteriousuniverse.org. Some more paranormal stuff. Although today's paranormal day at What in the World. So get ready for this. We are opening with a local Bigfoot sighting. So stay tuned to that. I've got also a Bigfoot footprint in England. I believe it's in England. We'll find out. And but this is a big one. We never talk about the Skinwalker Ranch down in Utah. And people ask me all the time what I think about the Skinwalker Ranch. There's a TV show that's been on for years that apparently has a lot of fans. Well, I've got a story about UFOs at the Skinwalker Ranch that we'll be talking about later in the show. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please stick around for that. But in the meantime, we've got a miniature horse with a maximum body part. Wait till you hear about this. The world's strangest pizza. We love the food stories. Robots with skin. We'll be talking about that. Music to do CPR by. This was a popular story on Facebook this week. plus a bunch of other stories. Odd news, world records. We've got trivia. John's got a great weird sport for us. I mentioned Facebook. I am on Facebook. Look me up. I sometimes test some of the stories out during the week so you can get a head start on what we might be talking about. You can send comments to me there. You can send comments to Karen via newclevelandradio.net. If you're watching live, you can send us messages on YouTube. Got all that out of the way. Let's get to the fun stuff. All right. First story comes to us from Oberlin, Ohio, right down the street here from Cleveland in Lorain County right next door to us. This happened last week, so it wasn't in time for last week's show, but it's going to be on this week. The Fireland School District had to go into a lockdown last week, not because of the usual reason, which we don't talk about on our show, but because someone reported a Bigfoot walking across the campus.
Wow.
Yeah, a real. So they said, the first person who called said a real live Bigfoot has been seen at the Firelands local schools. You need to do something about it. So the first thing they did, they checked the schedule of the baseball team to see if they might be playing a team named the Bears or the Bruins or the Saps. Wasn't that. So then, then they start to panic. So the school officials called Fox News, and they said that they looked at it because it was already on the news, and they said it appeared to be a person in a menacing Bigfoot costume. So my first question is, aren't they all menacing? Have we ever had a friendly Bigfoot in all the stories we talked about?
I don't think so.
No,
John, you would know. And what would a friendly Bigfoot look like anyways? I couldn't even imagine. I was thinking maybe like Barney. I don't know if they even watch Barney anymore. Big purple, instead of being purple, it was brown, or Grimace from McDonald's, another big furry thing. Or Yogi Bear, maybe Yogi Bear would friendly Bigfoot. So according to the police blotter, in the Lorain County Sheriff's Department said, and they happened to stop the person as they were leaving on a traffic violation. I don't know what Bigfoot didn't use his turn signal or something. It appears, get ready for this, it was a parent who came onto the school property, and I'm going to quote, as part of a prom prank. So this was a parent playing a prom prank on their child in either before or after the prom. Now, I thought back to my prom, and I can still remember it was a long time ago. But the only prom pranks that parents pulled back in our day was leaving the gas tank almost empty on the car. So
that's about it.
That's it. That was a prank. My dad pulled that prank quite frequently on me. But John, Karen, anybody out there, can you think of I don't understand this. Are parents that involved with high school students now that they're pulling pranks on their kids to the total embarrassment, I'm sure, of that high school senior?
Wow, that's really odd. I mean, to your point, again, how involved are they with pranks? I mean, again, it's odd. It's odd to say the least.
Yeah, why Bigfoot? Why Bigfoot? I know Karen would never do something like that to her son.
I learned something today about Bigfoot. Okay.
Oh, you did? What was that?
I did. Do you know that Bigfoot, if you find Bigfoot in the state of Washington, you are not allowed to harm him?
Oh, there's a law.
There is a law on the books. You may not harm Bigfoot. You can report him, but you cannot harm him.
You can feed him. You can wait as long as it's something that he take his picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't harm him. On the other hand, that's a good point. That's a good point. On the other hand, we've talked about this on the show before. In Oklahoma, they have Bigfoot season where you can hunt for Bigfoot. So my guess is that all the Bigfoots in Oklahoma are now in Washington.
Most likely, yes. Yeah.
They're smart. and we know they're smart because they listen to our show. So All right, let's get to some space news and space and TV. Let's take a look at our first photo here. I'll put up a photo here of that someone that everybody recognizes, and that's Captain Kirk from the Star Trek series, the good Captain Kirk, William Shatner. So William Shatner said in an interview this week that he is still open to boldly going where no man has gone before and play Captain Kirk in another Star Trek movie. You know, he's 93 years old. So if he does star in yet another Star Trek movie, they've already been saying that it will be called Star Trek: The Search for Why Did I Come Into This Quadrant in the First Place?
That's a good one, Paul.
Oh yeah, Mr. Spock, why are we here? It's illogical, Captain. So I was trying to think of some other titles that they could use for a 93-year-old Captain Kirk. How about Star Trek: The Rash of Depends?
Oh,
Wrath of Khan. Yeah, I know. Star Trek: Indigestion. I think there was one called Insurrection. So I didn't have much luck, but I don't know. What do you think? Captain Kirk, 93 years old. Is it time to retire?
I don't know with how makeup is done now or whatever, right? I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows what how they'll portray him, or he could be portrayed, I should say.
That's exactly what he said, John. He said they got that computer generated thing now. There was another movie where they took an older actor and they made him look. It was Harrison Ford. It was the last Indiana Jones movie.
Right.
So he saw that, yeah, and he's thinking, oh yeah, they can make me look like I did back in 1967 when the show was first on the air, 66. I don't know. That's got to be a pretty good computer there, William Shatner, because I've seen photos of him at 93. But if he does, I'll go to see it because I'm a huge Trekkie fan. Okay, John, you're a pizza fan. What's your least favorite pizza topping?
I want to say my least favorite is probably anchovies.
Anchovies, of all things. Wow. Karen, least favorite?
I probably would say exactly the same. Yep, anchovies.
Anchovies. Too salty? Is that it, or just too gross?
They're hairy.
I just thought, and I never really cared for them. Yeah, salty is
Well,
part of it, but I never really cared for them.
anchovies is high on the list of least favorite toppings, but the number one least favorite topping, according to the surveys, is pineapple. People don't like the looks of it. They don't like the sweet taste. That's always the number one. Anchovies is on the list. Fried egg. Fried egg is also an unpopular. I don't. I thought about. I saw somebody order a fried egg once over easy on their pizza, and the chef just flipped the pizza over on top of an egg. So, that's not. I don't think that's what they had in mind. Those little plastic stands, that's my least favorite topping. I tried eating one of those once. I didn't know.
Go figure that.
So leading into our next story, another one that is very close to the top is chicken. Apparently, people don't like chicken on their pizzas, and mostly because chicken dries out too fast. So when you put it on the pizza and then you slide it into the oven, it comes out dry. So KFC has the solution. And the solution, according to KFC, is something they're calling the Chizza, Chizza, which is a portmanteau, boy, a big word for the day, of chicken and pizza. Slam those two together and you get Chizza. I said Chizza to my lovely wife, Donna, and she said, bless you. So
That's a good one, Paul.
So that they're actually selling this Chizza. It's 2 extra crispy KFC chicken fillets covered with marinara sauce, then topped with mozzarella cheese and pepperoni slices. Obviously, we're doing it all wrong. That you don't put dough, you don't use dough for the crust, you use chicken for the crust, according to KFC. I think a chicken breast or a chicken, whatever the piece of chicken is, would taste better than a cauliflower crust, for example. I don't know, John, are you a fan of cauliflower crust?
No, I am not. I've tried it a number of times and it just doesn't do it for me. So I guess that's another, again, component of a pizza that I'm not interested in.
I get it. I get it. I got a cauliflower crust once, and I had to lick the box to kill the taste of the crust. So, the thing is, we're showing a picture of it. It's two pieces of chicken with cheese and pepperoni on it. If you're sharing this with a friend, how do you cut those into four pieces evenly? You know, because that's always the challenge, is cutting pizza evenly into four pieces. No matter how careful you are, somebody's going to get a smaller piece, and you, if you're the cutter, you're going to end up being a cheetah.
Oh,
That's our
Okay.
first one for the day. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Okay, so pizza. What do you think, John? Would you try that?
it doesn't look appetizing to me. I mean, just knowing that it's chicken and it's again a traditional pizza topping. I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to say.
Some of the comments said that it looked like chicken parmesan, which it does. Chicken parmesan with a little bit of pepperoni on
A
it.
little
So
bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, order a chicken parmesan instead. Okay. All right. So moving on to the animal world. This comes from South Carolina. Miniature horse in South Carolina just set a Guinness World Record for having the world's longest tail on a miniature horse. The horse is 3 feet tall. Its tail is 5 feet 11 1/4 inches long,
Wow.
almost as long, twice
Oh
as long
my.
as the horse is wide. Here's a little
Wow.
photo of the horse. Her name is I forget what her name is, but she's got she's got a ponytail and a horse's face, which you could say that just about any guy who grows a ponytail tail. That's what they look like, a ponytail and a horse's face. Ponytails aren't good on guys. I guess it looks okay on this miniature horse. It is a female. You'll never see a ponytail on either John or myself. Those days are over for us. I don't think you ever would have seen a ponytail on either one of us. Although I'm getting close on ear hair. One of these days, I could do a ponytail.
Gotta keep that trimmed up there, Paul.
Yeah, right. Too much information. The horse's name is Sweetie. I just got to the part in my notes here. She's 3 feet 1 inches tall. Which means on a windy day she can't go through a revolving door because her tail will obviously get caught in the door. Yeah. The owner says that she washes and conditions Sweetie's tail twice a year. Okay, now let's stop for a moment and remember which end of the horse the tail is connected to.
And you
I
only
would
watch
think,
it twice a year?
oh, she only watches it twice a year. That's right. Yeah. We've seen how horses make road apples. To me, this this would be like a Christmas tree of road apples if she only washes it twice a year. But then she updated it because I guess another number of people were questioning it. And she said that she braids the ponytail so that it doesn't get in the way of
Got it.
Sweetie doing business. Um, the so there you go. She said it keeps it from her rear from dragging behind her, which Kim Kardashian one of these days is going to have to start worrying about that too. But yeah, there's my Kardashian joke of the week. All right, let's go to Texas. Oh, we have wonderful listeners in Texas who we hear from all the time. Mark and Tex Chick and Steeler Girl down there. Researchers at the University of Texas at Austin that is the university when you think of the University of Texas, have developed the first ever stretchable electronic skin for robots. So it stretches over the metal bodies of robots to make the robot feel more natural. So these researchers, they announced it last week. They immediately got a call from Cher asking if it works on faces too. Because have you seen Cher's face lately? I mean, I think she needs. She's done way too much work, and a transplant like that just might help.
Oh,
According to the UT, the skin could give robots the same touch sensitivity that humans have, and it could be used as part of a robot's hand and applied to, and I quote, medical care where robots could check a patient's pulse, wipe their body, or massage a body part. So they immediately got a call from Charlie Sheen wanting to know if it was ready yet, because he'd like to buy one. We're in Northeast Ohio, so my first name that I was going to use was Deshaun Watson, but I thought, no, the only people in
Oh
Northeast
no.
Ohio. Okay, moving on to France and another food story. Bakers in France, in the city of Suresnes, which is just west of Paris, and I'm sure that's not pronounced correctly, they made the world's largest baguette. You know, the classic French bread, the world's largest baguette. The ones you get in the grocery store are a couple feet long, maybe 3 feet. This one is 461 feet long.
where do you get an oven that big?
I don't know, Karen. That was my second question. My first question was, where do they get a bag that big to put it in so that the customer can carry it home? I don't know. I'm not sure how they baked it. The article didn't say. All they said was that it was legitimately baked. I don't know if they just kept running it through an oven continuously or what. But 461 feet long. They had regained the record. They lost the record a couple of years ago to get this to Italy. Now, I didn't know baguettes were popular in Italy. I know breadsticks are, but anyways, the French were so upset that the Italians won the record that they wanted to get it back. So they created this new 461-foot long baguette. By the way, the Italian word for baguette is pizza lunga, which means long pizza. So we go with our pizza story there. The pizza, in order to qualify for the record, had to be 2 inches thick, which is also the minimum of 2 inches thick, which is also the minimum for most porn movies. Once I'm not even gonna. We'll just move on real quickly there. Once baked, the baguette was passed out to members of the public, including homeless people, but only, and this is the part that got to me, before they passed it out, they smeared the entire thing with Nutella. Now, you know, I love baguette. I love Nutella. I don't see those two together. No, it's not a good combination. Waste of both. So, you know, congratulations to them for setting the record, but you know, to find another spread. Cream cheese. I don't know. Butter obviously would have been the best thing.
Yep.
Butter. Yeah, right. Okay. Our next story was far more popular on Facebook than I thought it would be. It has to do with pro wrestling. John's a big fan of pro wrestling. I'm a big fan of old style pro wrestling. This is Hulk Hogan, who I think bridged the gap between old and new. Hulk Hogan claimed in a recent interview that he received a voicemail message from his fellow pro wrestling star, Roddy Piper, 2 days after Roddy passed away. So he didn't even know it. He had passed away. He says he gets the message on his answering machine from I can't say this, from Roddy Piper. And then he finds out that he didn't even know it came immediately 2 days after he died. So what Rowdy said to him was, I have a picture of them, by the way. Let's see. There we go. There's Hulk and Rowdy. Obviously, they weren't good friends in the ring. Hogan said that Rowdy said to him, I'm just loving you, my brother, just walking with Jesus. Now, those are like 4 or 5 different things that fans of Roddy Piper know he would never say when he was alive. So he must have been dead. If you want to watch wrestlers wrestle in the afterlife, what you have to do is you have to subscribe to Pray Per View, and then you can.
Oh,
I told you they were coming. So the Hulkster said that Roddy would never have said, he agrees with me. He never would have said something like that while he was here. And I said, of course he wouldn't have said it. He would have yelled it while he was strangling you in a stranglehold. But imagine a pro wrestler. Now, you know, we know all the pro wrestlers. Imagine a pro wrestler walking with Jesus. You know, the first thing that pro wrestler is going to say, he's going to look over at him and say, skinny guy who wears sandals, I could take him easily. But believe it or not, there's religious wrestlers. I didn't know this. Many of them are you know, good, strong Christians, and despite what they do in the ring, say they're using it to promote their faith. So you're like The Rock. You know, The Rock. I didn't know this. His real name is St. Peter. That's a Catholic joke for the week. There we go. All right. Okay, so this is a joke that comes from Japan, but sorry, it comes from Japan, but the it refers it refers to something that's much loved by people in Cleveland. So there's a town called, and I know I'm going to mispronounce it, Fuji Kawaguchiko, which is at the foot of Mount Fuji. The people there are so tired of foreign tourists coming and overrunning their town in order to take pictures of Mount Fuji that they erected a screen to block the view in a lot of areas so that the tourists weren't blocking traffic or blocking customers going in and out of their businesses. And one of the businesses that was singled out here is a Lawson store. Now, Karen, you grew up in Detroit. John grew up in Parma, as I did, in Cleveland. And Lawson's was a huge delicatessen chain when we were kids.
Convenience store, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by far. So people who saw this, you know, the first thing they said was if these are American tourists, you don't need to put up a screen. All you need to do is open a Mount Fuji in Las Vegas, and they would much rather go and see a fake Mount Fuji in Las Vegas than they spend the money to see a real one. Plus, they could gamble. So, but the other, they want to make sure that the screen isn't blocking the Lawsons, because a lot of people didn't know that Lawsons is still in existence, but only in Japan. In Cleveland, we don't have to worry about tourists blocking traffic in front of a store. Because if, like to see the Terminal Tower, for example, with big site that people come to Cleveland to look at, all you have to do, if you see a foreign tourist in Cleveland and they're blocking your view, you just point in the opposite direction and say, look, there's a Goodyear blimp. And they always look.
Good one, Paul. Good one.
Yeah, so that's what they go looking for. So Lawson's is still in Japan, and I checked it out. If you bring a note from your mom written in Japanese, they'll give you free cigarettes to give to your mom. So that's a story that people of our age tell all the time. Oh yeah, my mom or my dad wrote a note that I took to Lawson's, and with $1 or however much cigarettes were. And Lawson's clerk always checked the note and then gave them the cigarettes, and they ran back home and gave them to their parents. Lawson's, I didn't know this, originated in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, not more than 10 miles south of here. In 1939, a dairy owner down there, his name was J.J. Lawson, started a store on Broad Boulevard and to sell milk. And it was so popular that he started adding other products. One of the products he added that became even more popular than the milk was chopped ham. Now, but people who grew up in Cleveland always refer to it as chip chop ham. John, do you know why it was called chip chop ham instead of just chopped ham?
No, I really don't. But we did buy our share of it. That's for sure. I remember that.
We ate a ton of it. So we did as well. So the reason why it's called the loaf of ham is made from remains of ham, the ends and the pieces that they couldn't use in a fancy whole ham. They pressed it into a loaf. So they chopped it up and pressed it into a loaf. So that's the chopped part. The chipped part was shaving it so thin that a slice would not even hold together. So all you had was little shavings of ham in your paper, the paper wrapper that we used to pick them up in before there were plastic bags. So that's where it came. That's the expression chip chop ham. That was called chipping the ham. So you chip the ham, and then on your way out, you always bought a bag of sour cream or a container of sour cream onion dip. And that's what we grew up on. We grew up on chipped ham and onion dip and potato chips. Explains a lot about why we are the way we are.
The Lawson's building is still there, and you can still see the sign on it.
No kidding.
Really? Okay.
I don't think that the Cuyahoga Falls that often, but now that I know this, I would like to look it up. So this was a product of World War II. When there were ham shortages and meat shortages, the original chopped ham that Lawson's bought came from another Ohio company, and I didn't realize that this company was based in Ohio, and that's the Isley's company, ISALY apostrophe S. Isley was formed in Mansfield, Ohio, in the 1920s. So they would buy their ham from Isley's and sell it at Lawson's. Now, Isley's was better known for other things. John, did you used to go to Isley's when you were a kid? Did you have one in your neighborhood?
No, we did not have one in our neighborhood, Paul.
Okay. We had one down the street, a couple blocks away from us on State Road in Parma, Ohio. They sold skyscraper ice cream cones and Klondike bars. They invented both of those. Most people are familiar with the Klondike bars. I'm going to talk about the skyscraper cone first. So here's a photo of an Isley's, and they're advertising chipped ham, skyscraper cones, and Klondike. The three things we're talking about here. That's a drawing, an ad of a skyscraper cone. 10 cents. 10 cents for a giant skyscraper cone. Called that, you probably figured it out, because the ice cream actually stuck higher above the pointed cone than the sides of the cone. And the way they did that, I don't know if I have a picture of the guy doing it. There we go. They had these big, long pointed scoopers, and they would jab at it like a spade, like the spade you use in your garden, only narrower. And they'd scoop the ice cream out and shove it inside that cone, and you had to really lick the heck out of it so that it didn't drip all over you because it was such a big cone. Pardon my trip down memory lane there. Klondike, okay. They also they eventually sold Klondike bars to Good Humor. Okay, all right. So there's our story on Isley's and chopped ham and Lawson's. I think that's how we started down that path. Let's move on to the United States Senate with another food story here. Let me take a drink of water here because my tongue is obviously slipping on something here. I shouldn't have waxed it before the show. A bipartisan effort by the U.S. Senate has stopped the USDA from changing the classification of potatoes from a vegetable to a grain. They actually wanted to change potatoes from vegetables to grains under the Dietary Guideline for Americans. I don't know why they're doing this. All I know is that the potatoes are a vegetable. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have a vodka in your Bloody Mary and it's a potato vodka, that means you're getting your minimum daily requirement of vegetables. But anyways, that puts French fries at the top of the food group if they're a vegetable. Right after tater tots, another vegetable. Loaded bakers, when you bake your baked potato and load it up with sour cream and cheese and all that good stuff, chives, and mashed potatoes with vegan gravy. As long as it's vegan, you're eating healthy. You're eating a vegetable. So I fully support the Senate on this. Keep potatoes a vegetable, We need to have T-shirts.
I don't understand why they want to try to make it a grain or classify it as a grain. What's
John,
the motivation there? You know,
the answer is Washington. They're doing things to distract us from the real business of the country, and we don't talk about that on our show. So we talk about this bill.
Okay.
All right, so I love this story. This was another popular story. American Heart Association announced that Taylor Swift's song, John, I know this is a favorite of yours, the Tortured Poets Department. I know you listen to that all the time on Sirius. The Tortured Poets Department has a beat of 110 beats per minute, which is exactly the tempo you need to do when you're giving someone CPR. 110 beats per minute. That's what Taylor Swift sings that song at. And you know she sings it at that beat every time perfectly. Which, you know, I'm supposed to be impressed by this, but I'm a baby boomer. To me, if you're doing CPR to the beat from the song Wipeout from our age, you could save a whole ward of heart patients by pumping that fast. Remember Wipeout? How fast that song was?
Yes, I do remember Wipeout. I don't know if you do, Karen, as well, but yeah, I remember that song very well. Done by the Safaris.
Solo. Yeah. So John, trivia time. Who was the band that recorded Wipeout?
Well, I just mentioned it. I just got ahead of ourselves. The Safaris.
I was talking over you as I always do. So what were you saying?
The Safaris did Wipeout.
That's right. It's the Surfaris. I thought it was the Safaris, but it's Surfaris. I think I have their album here. There we go. The Surfaris.
Right,
sure. So they had two big hits. I thought they only had the one, but they actually had two big hits. Wipeout and Surfer Joe. I don't know if Surfer Joe is on that album, but it was on the flip side of the 45. So they were formed in California, of course, in 1962. And Bob Berryhill, the rhythm guitarist, is still touring with the Safaris. There's no other original members in the band, but he still tours. And he points out whenever he does his concerts now that not only was the drum solo unique, but also the opening. If you remember, there was like a crunching sound, and then there was this maniacal laugh, and then the drum solo started. You remember that? I do
remember that, Paul. Yes, I do.
Well, what he lets everybody know is that it was his dad smashing a surfboard because he was so mad that his kid was surfing. So it's the sound of a surfboard being smashed to bits, followed by his dad making the laugh. And that's what made that and the drum solo made it one of the greatest hits of the 1960s.
Wow.
Yeah. They're in the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum for the song Wipeout. They didn't make it into the Rock Hall yet, but the song is probably in there for some reason. Okay, Bigfoot time, John. So a man is walking in the Angeles National Forest, which is near Los Angeles in the San Gabriel Mountain, so close to Hollywood, and which doesn't anyway. I'll skip that part. He claims he saw something very large out of the corner of his eye. Well, I mean, you know, he's in Southern California. It could have been Jason Momoa out for a hike, or Kim Kardashian's butt. There we go. I just broke the record. I had 2 Kim Kardashian butt jokes in this script.
In this segment, right?
There we go. All right. So here's what he said. He saw something out of the corner of his eye, but he was with his fiancée, who happens to be extremely superstitious, so he didn't want to mention it to her. So, because she was already feeling uneasy. Why was she feeling uneasy? Because this is what they saw on the ground in front of them. Now, that's a very large footprint. How large is it? Well, the man put his foot next to it. He has a size 11.5 foot. So for those of you who aren't looking at this on YouTube, the footprint is 2 to 3 times as wide and at least 2 to 2.5 times as long as his size 11.5 foot shoe. Here's another photo of the shoe inside the footprint. just to show, he could have stuck both feet in there and comfortably. So he was, so he said, I knew my fiance was going to panic. Yeah, so we had to get out of there as fast as we could. So he took the pictures and then they ran out. They're going to have to change their vows because until Bigfoot does us part, because she's so afraid of Bigfoot. But he took images of it, as I said. John, take a look at those photos there. What do you think? Bigfoot, not Bigfoot?
Well, again, it's obviously something or someone made that one footprint. Is that a footprint in front of it also?
I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Darren, what do you think? Is that a footprint also?
Yeah, it looks like it, but the strange part is that it looks like the left foot is the back one, and I can't tell what the other one would be.
Right.
But he would have to be hopping.
It looks like the Bigfoot may have slipped a bit. Maybe it was muddy when it was walking, and it smeared its footprint up. That's the only thing I could think of, because I agree. The indentation in front of this one is doesn't look like a footprint. What do you think about
that? Defined, yeah.
Would that be a legitimate footprint, do you think? Or is there something?
Well, I think the one that's closest to the gentleman's foot is, but the other one, it's speculative. And I have to say this again. Could a Bigfoot have created that footprint? I guess so, but I don't find it to be any kind of definitive evidence that it was created by Bigfoot.
It's also pretty deep, so it'd have to be a pretty heavy Bigfoot as well. The thing that bothered me about it was that there's not a distinct toe, there's not 5 toes showing in that footprint. That's the thing that bothered me the most about it.
Yeah, it's kind of rounded out there. It's kind of an odd footprint when you mention that, Paul.
When you find one footprint, there have to be others.
I know.
Unless you are lifted up into the air.
Right.
That is the motto of our show. Unless you got 2 Bigfoot footprints.
Words to live by. Those are words to live by.
All right. So I wanted to talk about the Skinwalker Ranch for a second here. Probably one of the most popular shows on the History Channel of all places is the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker is this large in northeastern Utah, 512 acres, reputed to be a heavy paranormal and UFO site. The original owners sold it because they were so terrified of the things that they were seeing. And the local Native Americans say that the Navajos say that there's a legend of a vengeful shaman, which they refer to as a Bigfoot, not Bigfoot, a skinwalker, because it can change its shape as it's walking. So I have a draw. Oh, this is whenever I hear skinwalker, I think of skinny walkers, and the skinniest walker I know is Tristan McKenzie. Is that his name?
Yeah, Tristan McKenzie. Yes, pitches for the Guardian.
Yeah, he's really skinny and he walks a lot of people. So I call him the skinny walker. Sorry, Tristan, if you're listening, and he is, because the Guardians are huge fans of our show. So you're going to be famous now. You're on What in the World. So anyways, here's what a skinwalker actually, some people think they look like. Okay, it's kind of a skinny werewolfish kind of thing.
Yep.
So now here's a photograph of one. So awfully weird looking, but you know how photographs go. This was taken by a trail cam, so it's in black and white, very blurry. I'm not even going to ask John. I know it definitely doesn't look like a Bigfoot. What animal does that remind you of, John? And what is this creature turning into? Can you guess?
Oh, yeah, no. I don't know. It's got 4 legs, it appears, right? So I don't know. Is it a large dog of some kind? I don't know.
Could be. The face looks like a monkey.
Yeah, right. Right. Kind of. Uh-huh.
I don't know what that is hanging down underneath. It's not in the right place for this.
Let's leave that one alone, Paul. That one alone.
Exactly. So they've seen these things, and they've also seen UFOs, and that's what we're going to talk about today. the UFOs that they saw. So the Pentagon has actually investigated in addition to, cable TV, the Pentagon actually went down there and was investigating UFO sightings. So just recently we had this particular photo here of four. There's four. You can only see three here, but there were four UFOs that were captured on film flying across the Skinwalker Ranch. Here's an isolation on one of them, and here's a magnification of it. So the witnesses said that the UFOs were moving. They were the four of them, but they stayed in formation. So they kind of stayed in. They said like three of them formed the triangle, and the one kind of was off to the side. But they stayed in that same formation as they moved across the sky. They didn't see any wings flapping around, so they said it wasn't a bird, wasn't a bug, wasn't an airplane. And they disappeared as quickly as they spotted them. So I wanted to mention that. I don't have anything funny to say about it. I don't have anything, any analysis. John, we don't talk about UFOs that often. Any thoughts on those?
I guess in the category of could be, I guess it may be, but again, I don't think any of those photos are definitive enough, especially the first three, which are very tiny. It's really hard to find any distinguishing characteristics of those first three photos, or of those first three objects, I should say. And then this one is a sphere of some kind, but again, I don't think it's definitive enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, this is the problem that we have with a lot of UFO sightings. They're tiny little dots in the sky, even when you're looking at them, and they're even tinier when you take a photograph of them, especially with a phone. Unfortunately, when you magnify them, it doesn't make them any clearer. It just makes them blurrier, and that's what we have here. The thing that these UFOs have going for them is that they were over the Skinwalker Ranch, which many people, and not just conspiracy theorists, but and UFO believers, but people who investigate it really and truly believe that there's something weird going on over that spot, but no one can explain why. So, I love the Native American explanations for a lot of things. They have explanations for Bigfoot, and for the lake monsters around the country. So I go with them. If they saw it 13,000 years ago and it's still around today, it just might be something real. Again, this might be something real as well, but the photos are not proof. Here's one photo that is a proof, and then we're going to move on to John's stories here. So researchers at Johns Hopkins University, that's Johns Hopkins University, are frustrated because, get a load of this, their laboratory mice are balking at doing experiments, and it seems like they're intentionally screwing up the experiment to the point where the scientists think that the mice might actually be messing with them in order to conduct their own experiment on the scientist. So the mice are trying to see how the scientists react when they screw up. This is what happened. I found out this is what happened. They were leaving the TV on at night, and it was tuned to the channel that plays the Twilight Zone over and over and over again.
Oh my.
Obviously, that's how they got the idea. But I can't believe, if I were to meet one of these scientists, the first thing I would say is, if you go someplace where there's a big wooden platter and there's one piece of cheese on it, be very, very careful before you pick up that cheese off that wooden platter, especially if it says Victor on it and there's a wire going around the outside, because they're not just conducting an experiment, they're looking to catch you and dissect you. What a weird, I can't believe that. And it was a story out of a scientific journal. They're really concerned that mice are learning how to conduct experiments in reverse on the scientist. All the more reason why I'm glad I didn't go into science.
Yes.
I don't know. What is this world coming to? That's what I think.
What is this world coming to? It's coming to What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo. That's what it's coming to. Hey, this is it. When all else fails, we turn to sports. And every week I ask my old buddy John, who's a trivia wizard. Whether you believe it or not, sometimes I hit him with really tough trivia on this show, but he's got a good batting average on trivia, even better when it comes to sports trivia. I asked him, John, find us a great weird sport that fits with our motto: real news, sometimes strange, always funny, only a sport. And every week John manages to find one. This week is no exception. John, I think I've got your photos lined up, so why don't you tell us what our sport is for the week?
That sounds good, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. And the Karen and audience, our sport this week is another sport with a name that sounds dirty, but it's really good, clean fun. Let me explain. The sport is called crokinole, and it's best described as a tabletop game where players take turns shooting discs across the circular playing surface, and the goal is trying to land their discs in the higher scoring regions of the board, including a hole which is in the center, while also attempting to knock opposing discs off the board and into the ditch around the end. And that's a very good photo there, showing a crokinole.
Before you go any further, go back and say the name of the game very slowly.
Crokinole.
Crokinole.
Okay.
You're right. It does sound dirty. I think I've done that one on a long.
So, at any rate, the crokinole game board,
moving right along,
is made of polished wood and measures 26 inches in diameter. There are 3 concentric rings worth 5, 10, and 15 points respectively, and a 20-point hole in the center. The inner 15-point ring is guarded with 8 small bumpers or posts, and the wooden shooting discs are roughly checker-sized, so somewhat small. 2 players or 2 teams of 2 players each sit opposite each other, and they take turns flicking their 12 discs from the outer edge of the board using a finger, although one variation allows small cue sticks, believe it or not. Now, if there are any enemy discs on the board, a player must make contact with an enemy disc during the shot. If unsuccessful at that, the shot disc is fouled and removed from the board, along with any of the player's other discs that were moved during the shot. When there are no enemy discs on the board, a player must shoot for the center of the board, and a shot disc must finish completely inside the 15-point guarded ring or in the 20-point hole. Scoring is tallied after all pieces have been played, and the player or team with the higher score is awarded the difference between the higher and lower scores for that individual round. Play continues until a predetermined winning score is reached. So there is some flexibility on that. The 2 teams can arrive at, what is going to be the winning score in the contest. Now,
this looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Crokinole originated in Canada back in 1867. The name comes from a French-Canadian word for flicking and first became popular in the Canadian provinces of Ontario and Quebec, but is also popular in the state of New York. Crokinole is a popular game with Mennonite and Amish groups because it's not associated with card playing, gambling, or, as they view it, any other works of the devil, so to speak. Now, you may be surprised to know this. There is a World Crokinole Championship tournament, and it has been played every year since 1999 on the first Saturday of June in Tavistock, Ontario, Canada. Players come from every Canadian province, several American states, Germany, Australia, Spain, and also the UK.
Wow.
There is also, for you, Karen, the National Crokinole Association, which promotes the development of new crokinole clubs and tournaments throughout North America. Now, when you think of it, crokinole sounds like a great family sport, even if you're not Amish. However, if you play one of those Amish pros, make sure you check under his big hat for hidden pieces.
Yeah, you can't trust those Amish people. That's right. Check under that hat or in their beard.
Yeah.
There was one photo there. This guy, this champion over here, he looks a little Amisher, but he doesn't have a hat on. I don't know. I
No,
wasn't
oh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to point out this one photo here for those of you who are watching on YouTube. If not, this is an auditorium with probably 60 or 70 people all playing crokinole all at once. So this looks like one of the tournaments. I'll also point out the photos that we were showing showed men, women, children, mixed team.
Yeah.
It's wide open. It seems to be a very popular sport. I did find one photo that I saved until the very end here. I want you to take a look at the t-shirts that this team was wearing when they played crokinole. Take a look at that. This is a
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot crokinole team of all things. Yeah, 4 guys with I can't quite say searching Bigfoot. That's what it's called. That's on their. I hope they won. I don't see them holding a trophy, so I hope they won. They look pretty big. So I thought that was great. What a great sport. I like that sport. John, I don't know if you remember, but way back when we were in college, we played a sport similar to crokinole. Do you remember that?
Really? No, you have to refresh my memory, please.
Well, it was in the winter time, and we were challenged by another fraternity, and for some reason we thought that it was played on ice, like hockey, like curling. We thought it was played kind of like curling. So we set up the ice. They said we were responsible for setting up the ice. And take a look at this. This is what looks like a giant crokinole thing on ice. And people playing, the poster there and everything. And here it is, an aerial view. We must have had the Goodyear blimp flying over us to capture the moment that we actually won the tournament.
Wow.
And I didn't know this, but someone at the end gets sacrificed as a result of playing this on ice. So that turned out to be me. So after it was all over, I didn't realize it, but the rest of the fraternity brothers took me and shoved me into the hole in the ice.
Oh boy.
That was I think we got an extra 20 points for shoving me in the hole there.
Probably. Yeah.
Anyway.
It all comes back to me now, Paul. Okay.
Yeah, remember. I know you remember that part. Yeah.
I do. Sorry we did that to you.
Well, that was a great sport, John, as always. Crokinole. I think I'll look for that at the store. It looks like a fun family game there. So, all right. Well, we've reached the end of What in the World of Sports. That means it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Real simple to play this. You don't need a board. You don't need little flicking disc or anything like that. All you need to do is listen to the 3 stories I tell you. 3 stories similar to the ones that we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. Those were real. These stories may be real, maybe a bluff. And it's up to Karen, John, and those of you playing at home to decide real or bluff. Gambling is allowed. Place your bets. John and Karen, hand on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. A zoo in China caused a lot of pandemonium this week when it opened a new panda exhibit, and visitors thought there was something strange about the Chinese bears. Turns out there was. The pandas were actually chow chow dogs whose fur was dyed black and white to look like pandas. Zoo officials quickly admitted that they didn't have the pandas yet and were hoping some visitors might not notice, while others would fall in love with the little panda dogs as much as they loved the pandas. Neither of those things happened, and now they're in trouble for pandering to pressure from the media. The only ones happy are the dogs, who can now go back to eating regular dog food instead of bamboo. Okay, so the zoo in China that got in trouble opened their panda exhibit early, and all they had were dogs painted like pandas. What do you say, real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
I hope this is a bluff because I would hope zoo officials would be smart enough to know that they couldn't get away with that. So bluff.
Okay, Karen says that zoo officials are smarter than that. It's a bluff. John, how about you?
I'd like to think this is a bluff also, but I could also see people trying to pander off dogs as pandas, if you will. So I'm going to say that it's a true story.
Oh, okay. So John says it's real. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say John's right. Pandemonium did ensue. They painted the dogs to look like pandas.
Wow.
You know, talks, Karen. They're dumb. They're dumb. Money talks. They didn't want to mention it to the people and cancel all their promotion. So that's what they did. It bit them in the. That's right. It bit them in the butt. Okay.
Another example, folks, of what is this world coming to?
Yes.
What is coming? That's right. That's the. I think that's at the 6th or 7th of the mottos of our show.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means the score is 1-0. John is in the lead. Woo!
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, John's already leaning back. He looks like he's confident. He's confident that he's going to win this week, which is a bad sign. Here we go. Story number 2. The hot new food sensation in Japan is rice balls, but these are not ordinary rice balls. They're hot and salty because they're shaped into balls by, get ready, sweaty women using their armpits. The workers exercise to work up a sweat, then scoop handfuls of rice and quickly compress them in their armpits to make the balls men and even some women love to eat. These armpit rice balls are so rare and popular, restaurants are selling them for up to 10 times more than regular rice balls. Some restaurants even have the workers making them in front of the window. It's not sushi, although there's probably a rice ball maker named Sue, and she has one just for you. All right, so restaurants in Japan selling rice balls made by women with sweaty armpits. Real or bluff? John, it's up to you. What do you say?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is really a gross story, to say the least. And I'm going to hope and pray that it's a bluff because it sounds very disgusting.
Okay. I'm not even gonna comment. I was gonna ask John if he would eat those on a pizza, but I don't.
I'll give you an answer on that. No.
God says that the sweaty rice balls are a bluff. Karen, how about you?
Well, I'm gagging right now. And I don't think I'll ever eat rice again. So I hope it's a bluff.
Okay, boy, John and Karen both agree they hope it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges have bad news for you. That's a real food item in
Oh,
Japan.
that is so gross.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Wow.
I couldn't believe. As soon as I saw the story, I said, "This is for Bluff the co-host." Real, yeah. It's worse. It's kinky and all that other stuff. You don't even want to know about all that.
No.
Anyway,
thanks for saving us that information, Paul. Appreciate it.
I was hoping it was a sport because it would have been a great sport for us.
Oh, no.
An unusual one, to say the least. Wow.
Okay, well, that means John is still in the lead, 1-0, but points are doubled in round number 3, and that means Karen can jump into the lead. So let's get right to it with story number 3. You probably heard an orchestra play Beethoven's Fifth, but have you heard one play Whirlpool's Rinse? The London Symphony Orchestra was playing at a small concert hall when someone opened up the side door and the sound of washing machines from the laundromat next door filled the venue. Instead of stopping, the musicians and the conductor picked up on the sound and began playing along with the washing machine noises. The audience was so impressed that the orchestra decided to turn it into a piece called Ode to Clean Clothes and incorporate it into their regular concert. The percussionists get a real workout during the spin cycle, and everyone has a good time until the triangle player dings the bell, signifying the orchestra's cycle is over. All right, let's go with Karen. the orchestra that heard a washing machine sound come in, and instead of stopping, they incorporated it into a brand new piece. Real or bluff?
You know, I'm not doing really well this week, and that's okay. If this, I'm going to say real. Why not?
Real, why not? That's another one of the mottos on our Bluff the co-host. Real, why not? Okay, Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
A part of me says it could have happened, but I think that it's a bluff. I mean, how would the orchestra then incorporate that sound and put it into a piece and create another work of it? So I'm hoping it's a bluff. I'm hoping it's a bluff.
Oh, okay. So John is hoping it's a bluff. Karen says real, why not? Let's check with the judges, and the judges say they hope that John celebrates because that's a real story. I mean, I'm sorry, no, it's a bluff. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry
it is
about
good.
It is a bluff. Yeah. John is the real winner. The story
Yes,
is a bluff. There we go.
We're the opponent, very, very much so, Karen. So
well,
I can see your thinking, but no, I'm glad that it is a bluff, though, even unfortunately at your expense. Sorry.
Well, I wanted it to be a bluff too, but I figured our writer here, that it was real. Who knows?
Yeah. Giving the wrong score, like with the Oscars, reading the wrong winner on the on the Oscars. John can celebrate for a week. He doesn't have to practice with his flashcards. He'll be back next week along with all of us for another edition of What in the World. We've reached the end. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our producer, co-host, all-around great person. She's got some wonderful, wonderful podcasts at newclevelandradio.net. She's a great coach, not of lacrosse, but of a whole lot of other things, other skills that you could use her coaching background. So if you're looking for a coach, check out newclevelandradio.net for more details on Yes, I Can Coaching with Karen. And I want to thank my old buddy, John DiNallo. We've known each other since college, frat brothers. He puts up with all my nonsense every week. John, thanks again for joining us.
You're more than welcome, Paul and Karen. It's really an enjoyable time of the week for me, and always look forward to having a good show next week as well. So it's a lot of fun.
That's right. And of course, we want to thank everybody out there who's listening or watching. You're the reason why we do the show every week. Without you, we wouldn't be doing it. We hope you have as much fun listening as we do doing the show every week at 3:30 on Tuesday from Northeast Ohio. What in the world? On that note, I think we're going to wrap it for this week, Karen.
Yep, that's it. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good week.
Go Avs.